We will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So today we will continue the 4 Noble Truths in detail. So first we have to explain the Noble Truth of suffering. Even last week we have already talked about this one, like a rebirth is suffering, right? So we have the first Noble Truth, the Noble Truth of suffering. They are mentioned rebirth, also suffering, aging, sickness, death, and so forth. Now we will analyze one by one. And because what is it? Birth. Because Buddha had already said, birth is a suffering. So he put a question, what's it really called? Birth. It's coming into existence, complete origination, the conception, the rising up in new form, the appearance of the aggregates, the acquisition of sense bases of various beings in various categories. This is called, the bhikkhus, this is called birth. We can find this passage in Satipatthana Sutta. Not only that, we can also find in many other suttas. We can find with the Satipatthana Sutta easily. That's why I just talk about Satipatthana Sutta, right? For example, we also have, for example, Paticcasamuppada Vibhanga. So we mentioned this thing, Jati, rebirth. Okay, now we have to introduce what's it really called Jati according to characteristics, function, manifestation. So here mentioned Patama Vinipati Lakkhana. The characteristics is the first genius of becoming in any existences. So we may have many different types of rebirths according to different lives. For example, as a human being, we have to be reborn in the mother's womb first. Now, for about some other living beings, egg born. So they have to be in the egg in the very beginning. Then the eggs are laid by the mother. After that, they will grow up in the egg and they will be born twice, right? One time from the mother's womb as egg. After that, from the egg second time, they have to be born. So we have also multi-born living beings. We also have simultaneous born living beings. So for them, the first arisings of Namarupas can be considered as Jati. For example, divine beings. They were born immediately in the Deva realms. Then the first times Namarupa arise in the Deva realms, this is called Jati. It will be different from human being. Another one is Niyatana Rasa. Its function is to consign to beings. This one is also easier to understand. Then manifestation is Adita Bhava Do Ida Omojana Pachupatthana. Is manifested as emerging here from the past lives. So this one is also not that much difficult to explain. Then we have another manifestation. Dukkha Vichitada Pachupatthana. It is manifested as variousness of suffering. So that means we have many different suffering. So since we are born together with suffering. So we have many different types of suffering. I will list out. Okay, the next one. So according to Samhita or many other texts, we can find many different types of suffering like this, such as dukkha, intrinsic suffering. That means we have bodily suffering, mental suffering. We can also understand another way, some unpleasant feeling in our mind, unpleasant feeling in our body. So we can also say another way. For example, we have many stress, worry, sorry, all are unpleasant feeling in our body, in our mind. Then this can be considered as dukkha. Similarly, body also have to suffer some discomfort. This is also called dukkha. So since we are born together with suffering. Another one is viparinama dukkha. Suffering can change. So when we talk about viparinama dukkha, we have to talk about happiness for everybody. We have happiness. Sometimes happiness will change into suffering. Okay, I will give one example. We have a car, our favorite car, right? When seeing our favorite car, we will feel happy. So, by accidents, the crash into something, then we feel sorry for it. We cannot feel happy anymore. Similarly, we have very beautiful house. When seeing our house, we may feel happy, but when we find somebody, we feel sorrow. So that means any kind of happiness can change into suffering anytime. This is called viparinama dukkha. Okay, in this body also we have many viparinama dukkha. Where now we feel free and comfortable, but after sitting a long time, we may feel heat in our body, we may feel pain in our body. It's changing. This is called viparinama dukkha. All the comforts, all the happiness can change to suffering anytime. Then sankhara dukkha. Suffering due to formation. Okay, here in this case, we also have many other types of suffering. For example, equanimity. This is also suffering, right? Equanimity also can change to suffering. Now we have equanimous feeling. Anytime it can change to suffering. So there are many other formations. They can also cause suffering anytime, in any situations. So this is called sankhara dukkha. Actually, we are very familiar with this body word, sankhara. Right? So whenever we talk about nama rupas or 5 decades, there's also sankhara. Then when we talk about different origination also, we call sankhara. The main thing is, any kind of sankhara can be the cause of suffering. Right? So, okay, if we say briefly, it also can be equanimity. It also can be all the formations in existences. For example, in the Kama realms, Rupa realms, Arupa realms, we have suffering. We have feeling. Not only that, we also have to know the momentary arising and perishing of Nama Rupas. This is also suffering. That's why Sankhara dukkha is also can be any equanimous feeling. It also can be all the formations or the arising and variation of nama rupas, all these are called sankhara dukkha. Another one is parichana dukkha, concealed suffering. Then we can say invisible. For example, we may feel pain in the ear, for example. We just feel, nobody can see the pain, right? For example, pain in the teeth. As long as it's not swelling, right? We cannot, nobody can see the suffering. If our teeth is swelling, people can see, oh, it's suffering. But they can see, but they cannot feel, right? Okay, that means there are many other sickness, for example, fever, right? Many other sickness. Some of them are not that easy to see, not easy to recognize. These are called parichana dukkha. Not only that, there can be anger, sorrow, worry in our mind. Nobody can see. This also can be considered as a parichana dukkha, concealed suffering. So when somebody asks, what happened to you? We can answer, right? I have toothache. I have a headache. I have a pain in my ear. I have pain in my chest. I have a pain in my stomach. When somebody asks, we can answer. At the time, they can know. That's why this is called parichana dukkha. So sometimes we also use another Pali word, apakata dukkha. Apakata means unclear dukkha, unclear suffering. Another one is it, aparichana dukkha, exposed suffering. Okay, for example, if somebody beats us, or maybe if we see a man or a woman beaten by somebody, then he may cry or scream and see, we can hear, oh, this is clear suffering. We can also feel, right, how miserable life is. Although we don't ask them, we can know they have suffering. So anyway, when we are tortured by somebody, or bullied by somebody, we have to cry, scream, all the things can be very clear. That's what we call exposed suffering. So contrary to previous one, we also have another Pali word, pakata dukkha. Pakata means clear. It's very clear to anybody. Anybody can feel it, how miserable life is. Okay, now 6. Pariyaya dukkha, indirect suffering. So there are many other types of suffering mentioned in 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐻. Right? All the things are indirect suffering. For example, now, okay, we talked about before, jati. This also comes from 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐻. Right? Jati, reverse. This is also called direct suffering. Similarly, aging, sickness, death. Since we were born, we have to encounter all these suffering. We avoid it. This is also called indirect suffering. Right? Oh, that's a little bit. Sorry. Pariyaya dukkha, sorry. Pariyaya dukkha is it? Okay, indirect suffering, sorry, sure. Okay. Then we can also have already learned in previous Dhamma talk, such as separation from beloved one, associating with unloved one. It comes from environment. If we live alone, it doesn't matter. We live in the community, we may love somebody, we may hate somebody. Then we have to encounter all these things. Similarly, not getting what we want, there's also suffering. So all these are called indirect suffering. Pariyaya dukkha. Now 7. Nipariyaya dukkha. So, okay, Nipariyaya dukkha is the same to dukkha dukkha. So you can also imagine what's really called dukkha dukkha, right? So feeling something discomfort in our minds and our bodies called dukkha dukkha, right? We already mentioned. Nipariyaya dukkha is equal to dukkha dukkha. So these are the list of suffering we can find in Visamidamaka and in many other texts. We can also find the same things in Visuddhimagga. Not only that, we also have many other types of suffering mentioned. Okay, there are also another 7 types of suffering. The next one. Ghaphoganti mulaka dukkha. Ghaphoganti. We combine together Ghaphoganti. Mulaka dukkha. The suffering rooted in the descent into the mother's womb. So that means after passing away from previous life, we are born in the mother's womb. This is also called Ghaphoganti mulaka dukkha. Suffering, the first suffering. Another one is Gabha Parihanana. Of the Parihanana mulaka dukkha. Suffering rooted in the gestation. So here you can also experience. Right? This also in the mother's womb. Then 3. Gabha Vipatti mulaka dukkha. Suffering rooted in abortion. We don't know how many times we have to suffer like this in the mother's womb. It will be very miserable, right? Now, Vijayana mulaka dukkha. Suffering rooted in parturition. So parturition, actually, this also when we are delivered by mother, okay, you can imagine, right? Then we are crying at the time. We can imagine how miserable life is. So even we cannot breathe, right? Very miserable life. Okay, now the next one, 5th. Vinikamana mulaka dukkha. Suffering rooted in venturing outside mother's wombs. Oh, this one is already talk about it, right? So we have in the text mentioned very much in detail, you know, like newly eaten foods and digested foods. We are between these two, right? So very smelly very smelly one in the mother's womb, we have to survive. After that, when we go out, also we have to suffer. We go Pahi Nekamana Mulaka Dukkha. Okay, now 6. Atubagama mulaka dukkha. Here, atta ubagama. Atta means oneself. Ubagama means make efforts. Mulaka dukkha. But here in this case, we can talk about this. Sometimes we just create our own suffering, right? Because of our own action, we have to suffer a lot. This is called atta mulaka dukkha. Okay, there are many other atta mulaka dukkha. For example, if we don't eat, there's also suffering. If we eat a lot, also suffering. Right? So sometimes we get angry, we have to suffer. Or sometimes somebody may commit suicide, they have to suffer. So there are many types of suffering caused from this body, our own body. Another one is Purubagama mulaka dukkha. Suffering rooted in others' violence. So for example, sometimes we are bullied by other people, beat by other people, tortured by other people, arrested, captured, right? There are many suffering. Sometimes like emotional abuse, physical abuse, many types of abuse, right? Then we have to suffer a lot, produced by other people. This is called Purvakama Mulaka Dukkha. So this is also called suffering in our life. But when we are going to talk about the number two of suffering, this is not enough, right? So there are many other types of suffering, but briefly, when we say number two of suffering, later we have to talk about five aggregates. In reality, we have explained five aggregates before. Now you have already known all the materialities, material aggregates, all the mental factors, all the mentalities led by feeling is a feeling aggregate, all the mentality led by perception aggregates, all the materialities led by volitions can be formation aggregates, all the mentality led by consciousness called consciousness aggregates. We have already explained that one before. This is about jati. After rebirth, we have to suffer. So how many types of suffering do we have? Actually, we just list out after birth. Then again, we also have about aging. So, and bhikkhus, what's aging? The process of aging is the decrepitude and the decay and loss of teeth and the graying of hair, the wrinkling of skin, the failing of life force, that means life faculty, the wearing out of the sense faculties, such as the sight of various beings in the various categories. This bhikkhus is called aging. Sometimes people also misunderstand about jati jara marana. In Tibetan origination also, we have jati jara marana. Jati means rebirth, jara means aging, marana means death. So when the Buddha talks about jara in this point, we can also understand the conceptual discourse. Of course, some of them are ultimate reality. Later, we have to explain many things about jara. So there are some interpreter or some other scholar, because of these other Dhamma talkers, they talk about jati jarana marana is like arising, standing, perishing. They also misunderstand like that. But here we have very clear explanations. For example, loss of teeth. So that means aging in the standing state, there is a teeth. We can understand, we can misunderstand like this. Similarly, the gray of hair, wrinkling of skin. So when seeing that, we can understand these are concepts, conceptual discourse, not ultimate discourse. But here we have one statement, the failing of life force, that means failing of life faculties. That means our life faculty become weaker and weaker. Right? So that means, in this case, we can understand this is, also like our life is become weaker, right? That we can say this can be ultimate truth. Also, not only here, when out of sense faculties, such as sights and various beings and various categories. For example, eyes, ear, nose, all the karma produced materiality become weaker. But we can also understand two different things, ultimate truth or conventional truth in this case. Okay, now, we have other explanations in this part, the characteristics, function, and manifestation. So the characteristics is khanda paripaka lakkhana. Khanda means aggregate, paripaka means mature. Its characteristics is maturing of aggregates. So then our aggregate become mature, ripen, grow older. Marana nubayana rasa. Marana is a death. Ubayana means actually closer or leading. Its function is to lead onto death. So then we are brought to the death day by day. This is called rasa, the function. Yavana vinasa patupatana is manifested as the vanishing of youth. Of course, 10 years ago, we are young, but now we grow older. 20 years ago, we are young, but now we grow older. Gradually, all our youth is destroyed by aging. So in this case, also, we have many different types of aging, jara. So in the very beginning, we should introduce, there are two types of jara. Pagata jara, obvious aging such as gray hair, broken teeth, and so on. So that means it's very easy. We can see elderly people. Their hair is also gray. Their eyes are also poor. Also, their skin is also wrinkled. Also, their ears are a little bit weak. Right? There are many weaknesses. Sometimes they have to walk very slowly because their body is weak. Sometimes they become very skinny. And they cannot eat properly. And no appetite to eat. So anything can happen. This is called Pagata Jara. Very clear, very obvious aging. Okay, two, Parichana Jara, concealed aging, such as momentary changing of materialities and mentalities. Actually, here we can also understand like a rising and perishing of Namarupas. So every single mind moment, there are rising states, standing states, perishing states. So with the one finger snaps, many millions of mind moments rise and perish as series. Then we can know they are also momentary rising and perishing. If we can see it, we can see Parichana Jara. So Bhagata Jara we can see easily. What about Parichana Jara? When we can practice Vipassana, we can see it. If we don't practice Vipassana, we cannot see Parichana Jara. Actually, this one is not from Visuddhimagga. This one is from Parisambhidamagga. Okay, we also have two types of Jara. Here, Saviji Jara, the agent was clear interval, such as changing color of leaves, fruit, and so on, that are easy to know the changing. So, usually this one is not concerned with Vipassana, but one more thing, when we are going to discern external object, we need to know, right? Okay, for example, the color of leaves will change according to the weather. Different country, different part of the world may have different weather. Then there will be different color of the leaves. Similarly, fruits. When very young fruits will be green color, for example. When it's ripen, it can be red or yellow or it change to any other color. So these are very easy to know. That's one is called Saviji Jara. Two, Aviji Jara. The agent with unclear interval, such as changing of color of ruby, gem, and so on, that are uneasy to know the changing. This is also material. Actually, in every single moment, they are changing, but we cannot know clearly. Similarly, actually, what about leaves of fruit also? Within 1 second, we cannot know, right? After a few days, it will change. After a few weeks, it will change. Few months, it will change, something like that. But in the case of ruby, gem, and any other material, they are very hard material. We cannot know the changing of them easily. So they are called 𝐸𝐽𝐸𝐻. So these are called agent according to Visuddhimagga and Abhisamhita. Okay, now we have the next one, death. And because what is the death? The falling away from existence. The passing away from existence. The dissolution, the disappearance, the end of life, the passing away due to completion of lifespan, the breaking up of the aggregates, the discarding of the body, and the destructions of life faculty of various beings and various categories. This vehicle is called death. So in this case, it's a little bit easier to understand, right? For example, pass away, fall away from existence, dissolution, or very clear, very easy. Okay, here, we just say completion of lifespan. Since there are something we have to explain in the future, later. Now, I said the breaking out of the aggregates. Okay, we can say aggregates. That is called ultimate reality. Discarding of the body and destruction of the life faculty. You can say life faculty. Disappearance of life faculty. This is also called, can be considered as ultimate reality. So that means life faculty will be in every karma produced materialities. When we grow older and older, our life faculty become weaker and weaker. That's our eyesight, ears, nose, tongue, all the transition body will become weaker. Okay, anyway, here in the case of death, disappearing of life faculties. No more kamacharupas. No more karma produced materialities. This is called death, according to ultimate reality. Okay, we also have to know the characteristics, the function, and the manifestation. Chuti Lakkhana, it has the characteristics of a form. Chuti means actually changing or transferring or moving also can be, like a migrating also possible. Anyway, here, Chuti means just fall, just move one life to another life. Then Viyoga Rasam, its function is just join. So that means it's already disappear, no more joining. Kadi Vipa Vasa Pachupatana is manifested as absence from destiny. Actually, Kati also can be like a destination. So that means if we pass away, we have to leave this destination, human destination. We have to go to another destination. So Kati Vipa Vasa, absent from current destiny. So these are the agent. Sorry, they are called deaths. Actually, we also have many types of deaths, many types of marana, according to Buddha's teaching. Satipatjaya marana, death with birth as a condition. Actually, when we go and then read dependent origination, Paticca Samuppada, we can find Jatipatya, Jara, Marana, Soka, Prideva, Dukkha, Dominasa, Upayasa, very long sentence. But here it just pinpoints Jatipatya, Marana. Right? Death with birth as a condition. Upakama Marana, death by violence. So it can be other people's, right? Other people's efforts or our own efforts. Upakama Marana. Sarasa Marana, death by natural causes. That means if somebody passes away naturally, this is called Sarasa Marana. 𝐈𝐃 Marana, death from exhaustion of lifespan. So when somebody grow older, their lifespan was over, their lifespan is over, then they pass away. For example, the Buddha, right? At the time, 100 year lifespan. So Buddha passed away when he was 80 years old. 20 years earlier than the lifespan at the time. So another one is 𝐵𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐻 Marana, death from exhaustion of merits. Sometimes there are many people, they pass away when they are very young. Their lifespan, they have lifespan. It's not exhaustion of lifespan. Their karma was over. That's when they pass away very early. Because 𝐵𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐻 Marana. Actually, when you go and study and with Vedamata Sangha, we also find other types of Marana, right? As you say now, 𝐈𝐃, death from exhaustion of lifespan, 𝐵𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐻 Marana, death from exhaustion of merits, for example. Sometimes because of these two, death from exhaustion of both lifespan and merits. It can be like a sarasa, natural death. Sometimes we pass away by violence, by accidents. In this case, we call upachedaka. Okay, the main thing is there are many types of marana, many types of deaths. It depends on all the condition here. We also have another types. Khanika Marana, three types, right? Khanika Marana, momentary death, such as rapid variation of mentalities and materialities. This is called Khanika Marana. So for those who practice Vipassana can experience all these types of Marana, deaths. So previously we talked about Jati, right? We don't talk about momentary arising. Then it doesn't mean Khanika Jati. It doesn't. We don't mention like this. But in the case of Marana, we have Khanika Marana, momentary death. It will be useful when we are practicing Bhanga Jnana, the knowledge of variation. 2. Samuti Marana, natural death, such as somebody pass away. Not only that, actually, Samuti Marana also can be many other things. For example, some of the grass dry up, they also dying, right? Death of grass, death of trees, death of plants. All the things can be considered as a Samuti Marana, the natural death. Now that's it. Samucheda Marana, death by aspiration. Right? So extenuation, such as death of arahats and arhats. So that means when arhat pass away, no more reverse. This is called samucheda marana. Actually, samucheda also can be considered as like uprooted, eradicated. That means no more deaths. This is the last death for them. That's what they call samucheda marana. Their death is removed already, no more death. That's what we call samucheda. right? Uproot it or eradicate it. So that means they also give up defilements already, long times ago, when they attain headship, all the defilement has gone. Now they give up this body, no more kanda, smochira marana, uproot it. So these are called jara and marana, jati, jara, marana. So I have already said jati, jara, marana. We were born together with three of them. Not only that, we have the next steps about soga, grief. And because what is a grief? It's a grievous anxiety, sorrowful, anxious state of mind, and sorrowfulness and anxiety. In what? The inward grief, the inward restlessness of one who is beset by some ruminous loss of others, loss of other, who encounter some painful misfortunes or other. This becomes called grief. So here we have something about grief. Right? They are mentioned ruin of loss or other. For example, we have different types of loss. For example, loss of relatives. In Pali we call nyati bhyasana. When our relatives pass away, we have to feel sorrow. We have mental pain. This is also something misfortune, right? Then this is called nyati bhyasana. Similarly, bhoga bhyasana, loss of wealth. So we may earn a lot of money. So we may have many possessions. We have many belongings. If some of them are destroyed by somebody or something, we have to suffer. We call bhoga bhyasana, loss of wealth. Now is sila bhyasana, loss of morality. There are somebody, they love their morality too much. Especially good people, they love morality. When their morality is destroyed by something, or by some reason, then they will suffer. They may feel sorry for it. Similarly, ditthi bhyasana, loss of view. We can also say loss of right view. Sometimes they are forced by somebody to change their view. Then they will change. But in their mind, they cannot change easily. They will suffer. Right? Anyway, there is sometimes loss of view, loss of morality. There also can be the reasons of grief, the cause of grief. So, one more thing here. When we talk about soga, this is also equal to dosa. We can also understand another way. It's also a branch of dosa. Okay, we have to talk about it is characteristics, function, manifestation, and proximate cause. Okay, the characteristics here mentioned anto nijjanana lakana. It has the characteristics of inner consuming. So that means it's like a heating inside the body. Not that much comfort, heating inside the body. Another one is Chedaso Parijapana Raso. Its function is completely consuming the mind. So that means it's just trying to burn our mind. very strong mental suffering. Then anusotana pachupatthano is manifested as continuous sorrowing. So that means we have repeatedly recorded in the same things, we have to suffer continuously. That's called anusotana. Anu means again and again. Sotana means sorrowing. So actually, these are also the basis of suffering. Right? Also, same to dukkha, dukkha. We already discussed many dukkha, right? The first one is dukkha, dukkha. So this soga also one of the dukkha, dukkha. It's a real suffering. Okay. So we have to move. The next one. And because what's it? Lamentation. The weeping and lamenting. The act of weeping and lamenting. The condition of weeping and lamenting by one who is beset by some ruinous loss or other, who encounters some painful misfortunes or other. This because is called lamentation. So here also we mentioned the same about loss or ruin. As we mentioned, loss of relatives, loss of wealth, loss of morality, loss of right view. When we had to encounter all these kind of misfortunes, we will have lamentation. Okay, here I have to compare two different things. Soga just is inner suffering. What about lamentation? We cannot keep inside our body. We cannot keep inside our minds. We may cry. We may speak out something. In Bali we call parideva. So, okay, when we talk about characteristics, function, and manifestation, it will be a little bit clearer. So here, lalapa lakano. Lalapana lakano is crying out as the characteristics. So that means we cry out. We cannot keep it in our hearts, in our minds. Guna dosa kitana raso. Its function is proclaiming virtues and vices. Yeah, guna and dosa. Okay, we can also translate a little easier way. Guna means the quality of virtues or goodness of somebody. Okay, for example, if some of our friends pass away, we may talk about his virtues, how good he is. Right? For example, if somebody is bad or how bad he is, we may say something. Right? So that means there can be both good and bad. We will talk about his good and bad, good points and bad points together. This is called the function. Then we have another one. Sambhama Pachupattano. It is manifested as turmoil. So that means it will be very noisy, right? Sambhama means very noisy, right? So he may make noise. Okay, here in this case, we can also say another way. It's the voice produced by mind. Mind produces voice. It's called, right? Because satta. Chitta vipalasa satta. So our mind is changing because of sorrow. It produces the voice. This is called, right? Sambhama Pachupattana. Okay. So this is about aging. Then we also have about pain. Sorry, this is about, sorry, after we have like a pain, right? And because what is the pain? The bodily pain, bodily unpleasantness, the painful and unpleasant feeling produced by content of the body. This because is called pain. Okay, in Pali we call dukkha. When you go and study Tibetan originations or Mahastripthana Sutta, you can find, right? Jatipataya, Jara, Marana, Soka, Parideva, after that, dukkha. It mentioned already Jati, Jara, Marana, Soka. The previously we had talked about Parideva. Now we call dukkha. Dukkha means pain. So when we have fight feeling, dukkha can be bodily pain. That's why here I mentioned bodily pain or body unpleasantness. He also mentioned produced by contact of the body. That means kaya sampasa. Kaya sampasa ja vedana. So this is called pain. Okay, we can talk about characteristics, function, manifestation, kaya pidana lakana. The characteristics is the operation. Then we have another one. Dupanyana, domanasa karana rasa. Its a function is to cause displeasure in the foolish. So that means if we are wise, we can overcome bodily pain. Okay, for example, the Buddha had headache. You may know his recompense, right? Because of past karma, he has to suffer headache. If an ordinary people have to suffer like him, he will pass away. It very seriously pain. But Buddha had very strong spiritual power, especially many different attainments. He can enter into many different attainments. So he could overcome the pain. Okay, here's a Buddha, very high, right? Very high quality. Another one is like a Venerable Tissa. I already talked about that story many times. He broke his legs, hit him with a stone. You can imagine how miserable it will be. Very serious pain. Although he has very serious pain, by the power of rapture and joy and tranquility, he can overcome it. Because he recall his morality, we call sila nosati, the recollection of morality. It produces very strong rapture, joy, and tranquility, so he can ignore the pain. He could continue practicing vipassana. He can attain arising. Okay, because he's a wise, he really knew how to overcome bodily pain. That's why, although it's a bodily pain, they can overcome. That's why here I mentioned, Dupanyana, only for the foolish, it will be very serious pain. For the wise person, it's okay, no problem. Then, Kayika Bhada Patupatana is manifested as bodily affliction. Actually, abhada also can be like a disease or sickness. Kayika abhada. Kayika means in the body. Abhada means sickness. So this can be considered as the manifestation. Okay, now we have to continue the next one about distress. And because what is the distress? The mental pain, the mental unpleasantness, the painful and unpleasant feeling produced by contact of the mind. This because is called distress. So here we should talk about the body upayasa. This is also mental pain. Sometimes, this is dominasa. So this is in Bali we call dominasa. This is produced by mind contact, manosampasa. So that means when we see something, hear something, then especially when we see undesirable, hearing undesirable, then we may feel unpleasant in our minds. That's the time dominasa. If we dislike something also, dominasa. So it's produced by mind contact. Of course, there are many other dominasa, right? But here, basically, it just mentioned only mind contact. But in reality, it also can be any other contact also. It depends on mental process. Okay, anyway, mostly after recalling many bad things, we may feel discomfort in our minds. It can be mind contact, mostly. That's why we just talk about majority, right? Okay. We can also continue talking about the characteristics, the function, the manifestation. Chitta Bilana Lakana, its characteristic is mental oppression. So it's just torturing our minds. Mano Vighata Rasam. Its function is to distract the mind. Actually, Vighata also can be like a destroying or spoiling. Vighata also can be like a scenario killing, right? Ghata means killing. So it will spoil the mind. Manasa Bhayati Pachupatana. It is manifested as mental affliction, like a mental sickness. So these are the characteristics, function, manifestations of domanasa. Then we have to continue talking about upayasa. And because what is it? Despair, the sorrowful trouble and tribulation, trouble state, and the state of tribulation of one who is beset by some ruinous loss or other, who encounters some painful misfortunes or other. Okay, here we have to review previous one. Bhoga Vyasana, loss of wealth, loss of relatives, loss of morality, so right view. Okay, here I have to elaborate a little bit more about three different things we have mentioned before. Soga, grief. Prideva, lamentation. Now here, upayasa, despair. These three have different power of consuming the mind. For example, we may cook wine in the pot or anything. If we cook wine, in the very beginning, there's the bubble. It will rise bubble in the very beginning, right? It will be an industria. It's like a soga. It boils, it will overflow. Because it will raise up and overflow. It's like a lamentation. despair, totally dry up, no more wine in the pots or in the container, right? That means despair is very strong and powerful. Okay, for example, sometimes some of our beloved pass away. We feel sorrow, we may cry a lot. After crying, no more energy, we become exhausted. Although we cry, no more tear. Although we try to speak, no more voice. We can say it's a despair, upayasa. So soka only inside our minds. It does not come out. It comes out from our mouths, talking about his or her quality, ability, how he disturbed me, complaining, right? Or like out of person way, right? Abusing, how you silly like this, how you have done like this. Complain, many things, right? This we call lamentation. We can also say parideva. In the case of upayasa, although we're trying to speak out, voice does not come out. Because very tired already, body become very weak already. At that time we can say despair, upayasa. This one is the strongest among the dominasa. Okay, we can continue talking about the characteristics, the function, and the manifestation. So Chitta Paridhana Lakkhana, its characteristics is burning of the mind. As you can see, burning of the mind. Actually, not only burning, they also can burn, right? All over the body also. Nijunana Rasa, its function is to be more. So you can also already know, right? Then Visada Pachupatana is manifested as dejection. So these are the characteristics, function, and manifestation. So you can imagine how strong upayasa is, right? Okay, so we have already talked about from jati to upayasa. Jati, jara, marana, soka, parideva, dukkha, domanassa, upayasa. All these will come together. That means when we are born, we have to experience all the things in our life. We cannot reject. We cannot ignore. That's why they are jati nisanda, produced by birth. So we are born together with all these things. Okay, now we have to move the next one. And because what is it, the dukkha of having to associate with those persons or things one dislikes? So that means we have to see many people, right? We have to associate with many people we dislike. This is also suffering. Okay, so here I mentioned having to meet, remain together, or be in close contact, or intermingle with undesirable, unpleasant, unenjoyable sights, sounds, color, taste, textual objects, and mind objects. So these are actually the one we dislike, right? So if we have to encounter all the things, so we have to suffer. Actually, there are many other things we have to explain. For example, there are something we don't wish to eat. For example, bitter taste, we may not like, but some of the medicine are really very bitter. We have to take it. Sometimes the smell is really very bad. We don't want to take. But this is a medicine we have to take. Similarly, sometimes it looks very bad. We don't want to see, but we have to see it. right, for our improvement. So anyway, the main thing is if we have to associate or encounter or see, hear, smell, taste, touch, or feel something what we dislike, this is also called suffering. Okay, we have to continue talking about the characteristics, the function, and the manifestation. Anicca samodhana lakkhana. This characteristic is association with the undesirable. That means there are many undesirable things we have to see, we have to hear. This is the characteristics of, right? Abhihi samyoga dukkha. Chittasa vikata karana raso. Its function is to distract the mind. That means in our mind, not that much peaceful. Then another one is it. Anatta bhava paccupatthana is manifested as a harmful state. So that means we have to experience like something harmful to us. If we don't wish to see, sure, we have to, we will feel, right? This is something harmful to us. Okay, so we may have another one, right? Viyehi, vibhayoga dukkha. And because what is the dukkha of being separated from those one loves or likes? So here mentions not being able to meet, remain together, or be in close contact or intermingles with undesirables, unpleasant, unenjoyable sights, sounds, odors, tastes, textual objects, and mind objects, including parents, relatives, friends, and so on. So if we have to separate it from our beloved one, it's also suffering. This one's very clear, right? We don't need to explain too much because in the case of Soka, Prithiva, Dukkha, Domanassa, also the same. When our beloved one passed away, we have to suffer, right? Okay, we can go to the characteristics, function, manifestation, and proximate cause. So ita vatu viyoga lakkhana. This characteristics is dissociation from desirable objects. So that means we have to give up our desirable objects. Then sokubadana raso. Its function is to arouse sorrow. We have already talked about nyati bhyasana, loss of relatives, right? Then bhyasana paccupatthana is manifested as loss. As we have mentioned, nyati bhyasana, loss of relatives. We have bhoga bhyasana, loss of wealth, and so on. Okay, so now we have to continue the next one about yambita nalabati dambi dukkha. And because what is it? The dukkha of craving for what one cannot get. Actually, if we cannot get what we want, this is also suffering. This is the main point, right? Okay, now we have to continue in being subject to births, the which arises, or that we are not subject to. We are not subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, grief, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair, or that birth, aging, sickness, death, grief, lamentation, pain, distress, despair, will not happen to us. But it's not possible to get such wish. This is the dukkha of craving for what one cannot get. That means, although we just wish, we don't wish to be reborn anymore, it will not happen. Although we wish not to be older, not to grow old, but it cannot be. Although we wish not to die, it's impossible. Similarly, we don't wish to be, we don't wish to feel grief, lamentation, pain, distress, or despair. Although we wish for it, it will not be. It will not happen to us. That's when this becomes suffering. Okay, we have to continue the characteristics, function, manifestation, and prosemic cause. So here I mentioned alabaneya vatu ichana lakana. This characteristic is the wanting of an unobtainable object. We already talked about it, right? Like aging, sickness, death. We cannot make a wish, we cannot get that one. Then, tapariyasana rasa. Its function is to seek that. That means we're just looking for, right? Not to be old, death, or not to feel like sorrow, lamentation, grief, and everything. Then there's some apati pajubatana. So that means it is manifested as disappointment. So because of not getting all the things, or just disappointment, disappointment, right? We just get disappointment. So these are the characteristics, the function manifestation of Yampi Chana Labati, Yampi Dukkha. Then we also have, this is the last part, right? Then we also have like a 5 aggregates, right? So the Buddha also mentioned Sankitena Panchubara Nakanda Dukkha. In brief, we have mentioned bhikkhus, right? And what is the means by, in short, 5 aggregates, which are the object of clinging are dukkha. So we have already explained 5 aggregates before. Then, anyway, we have already known what's really called 5 clinging aggregates. These are the objects of clinging. That's what they are called, clinging aggregates. So they are the aggregate of corporeality, that means materialities. The aggregate of sensation, because the aggregate of feeling. The aggregate of perception. The aggregate of mental formation. The aggregate of consciousness as object of clinging. These bhikkhus are what is means by, in short, the 5 aggregates, which are the object of clinging, are dukkhas. So, okay, we can also divide into 2 different groups in the Noble Truth of Suffering. The first group is very clear, right? Jati, Jara, Marana, Soga, Prideva, Dukkha, Domanassa, Upayasa. These are come from rebirth. So when we are born, we have to encounter all these things. Another one is Abhihi Sambayoga, to associate with unloved one. Piyehi Vibayoga, to be separated from the loved one. So these are come from environments in the community. When we are living in the community, we may love somebody, we may hate somebody. This comes from community. This suffering comes from the community. Okay, now previous one. Not getting what we wish. Then this comes from karma. For example, like I don't wish to be old, I don't wish to be sick, I don't wish to die. It depends on our karma. Right? So that means if we have very bad karma in the past, so we may be, we may have to sick. We have to be sick many different things. We have to suffer from many sickness. Not only that, similarly sorrow, lamentation, everything. We have to encounter. We have to experience all the things. Although we wish for it, we cannot overcome it. This comes from our karma. Then the last one. Today we are going to talk about 5 killing aggregates. So this one is the main target here. So when we are going to practice Vipassana, we must know this 5 killing aggregates as a dukkha. So if we say briefly, what are the objects of Vipassana? The object of Vipassana is really called the noble truth of suffering. These are the object of Vipassana. So we have to learn all the aggregates. We also have to discern all types of aggregates. First, we have to know everything in detail. After that, we can summarize. We call Kalapa Samasana. For example, just understanding all types of materialities, one by one. We call Rupa Parikha. After that, we can discern overall all the materialities as Rupa. This is called Kalapa Samasana. Similarly, we have to discern all the mentalities one by one, making groove and groove. For example, there are many mentalities led by feeling. We can say feeling aggregates. In the very beginning, we have to know everything in detail. Finally, we have to discern overall. We call Kalapa Samasana. So anyway, when we are going to talk about noble truth of suffering, it will be very wide. If we summarize, only 5 aggregates are good enough. Especially 5 killing aggregates are good enough, right, to know. So today we have explained the noble truth of suffering, right, in detail. But next week we are not sure because next week is Patimokkha Day. Next week, maybe next time, maybe we have to talk about the noble truth of the origin of suffering. Anyway, there are many different explanations. There are also many different approaches to aggregate Namarupas, also Ayana, Dhatu, Indriya. We have many different approaches. According to the listener's condition, the Buddha explained many different things. So why we have to learn all the things? Because we are blind person. We don't have very big eyes to see ultimate reality. That's why we have to learn everything. We have to discern all the things. So in the current society, there are so many teachers, they say, just do Nama Rupa. Body is Nama, body is Rupa. The mind is a Nama. Only Nama Rupa is enough. But even the first 5 bhikkhus has to practice 5 aggregate methods. You can imagine in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Buddha say the noble truth of suffering is, in brief, 5 killing aggregates. Then again, when they are practicing for arhatship, the Buddha also explained Nattalakkhana Sutta. They also, the Buddha mentioned 5 aggregates methods with 11 categories. So that is why we need to know everything in detail. After that, we have to use for our practice. All the information will be useful for our practice. Okay, so in our traditions, our learning must be for practice. Our practice must be in accordance with learning, Buddha's teaching. So if we don't learn or if we don't practice properly, we cannot prolong Buddha's teaching. although we may wish, may Buddha Sasana will live long. If we don't practice or learn properly, it will not last long. Okay, so by learning and by practicing, may you all be able to try to prolong Buddha's teaching, and may you all be able to practice the 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize the final cessation and not suffering.
Question 1. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, a monk wants to know what is the reason if the following is breaking Vinaya rule, and which part of the Vinaya rules. The problem is about announcement in Facebook about raising funds for building monasteries and others. The point is, Venerable Sangha, please don't like or share or comment it. Is it breaking the Vinaya rules? If yes, which part of the Vinaya rules? That's question 1. Question 2 is, can we say that if we like or share or commented, it is to rejoice for the action? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So it depends on how they announce, right? If they announce properly, it will be fine. Okay, then it depends on how he announced, right? So in the description, he may say, like, for example, I want to build medicine, that's fine. You can offer me some currency, for example, he may name, right? Currency. So that's why we can say this is a, we can say, right, unallowable. This is very clear. So another one is, you know, like a, even like a hinting, nimitta. Nimitta, right? We got nimitta or brikata or obasa, something like that. So in the case of construction, we can also hint in some parts. So if we hint improperly, then it also can be the problem. Okay, you can, for detail, you can start in the Vinaya, nimitta, obasa, brikata. Okay, when you can find these 3 Pali words, you can find what's the difference between all the hinting. Okay. So for example, like a sharing or liking or commented. It depends. Okay. So then if somebody offer, for example, like I offer this amount of resources or this amount of money, for example, right? We may rejoice. Of course, we have good mind. We can say this is the kusala. The problem is, it depends on how we announce also, right? So, okay, we can say like a allowable dana and unallowable dana. If we say money is unallowable, if we say requisites, it will be allowable, right? But he may offer allowable way, using allowable statements, we can rejoice. This can be kusala. Okay. Next one.
Question 2. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, what kinds of sufferings did our Bodhisattva see that make him walk out of his family life to find a way to liberation? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Actually, you can see, right? 3. An old man, a sick man, a dead body. 3, right? He just know aging, sickness, and death, 3 suffering. So the unseeing or maybe unrealizing this type of suffering, he has very strong sense of urgency that he renounce the words and he practiced. Right? This is when he was like a Siddhartha. Okay. When he was Sumedha, it was very wide to explain. There are many ways. For example, in the very beginning, his parents passed away. Then he thought, my parents can earn money, can earn many things, but they cannot bring their belonging with them. This is the one thing, right? Not only that, he also thought, if there's a darkness, there's the light. Similarly, if there's a death, there must be deathless. If there's a heat, there is also cold. Similarly, if there's a death, there must be deathless. He has very long thoughts, very long considerations, or very long pondering upon life, the miserable life. Actually, it will be very wise to explain, right? Okay, I will give only one example. One example, right? Among his thinking, among his way of investigating or pondering upon, we can say only one thing. Okay, we are going to travel. We are going to set out a very long journey with big number of people. Many of them are thieves. We also bring valuable things with us. You can imagine what will happen on the way, right? This is his thinking, how he understands life. Okay, this is a simile. So in our life, we have many valuable things, like for example, wholesome things, really very valuable. Okay, particularly concentration, valuable. You cannot buy. We have to practice by ourselves to achieve concentration, right? Similarly, many other kusalas, many other wholesome deeds are very valuable. But in the samsara, we have to go along with defilements. The defilements are thieves. When the defilement arises, all the defilement will steal our properties, our wholesome deeds. For example, when love arrives, we are stolen. Our merit are stolen by greed. When dosa arise, our meritorious are stolen by hatred and so forth. Right? He think about many things, many miserable things in the life, many nature of life that he renounced. This is after receiving definite prophecy when he was Sumedha. Right? So there will be many different things about renunciation or finding for liberation. Okay?
Question 3. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, some people criticize that Buddhism is very pessimistic because the teachings mainly teach about sufferings. If we always think about sufferings, we may become more and more pessimistic and may be difficult to move on in our life. Could 𝐸𝐸𝐻 please explain the right attitude towards this kind of sayings? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
This is a very good question, right? Okay, one more thing here, right? Sometimes we just mix up with conventional truth and ultimate truth. In our daily life, we should not talk about suffering too much. But when we are going to meditate, we must know suffering. We must have sense of urgency. For example, when the Buddha talked to Nathapindika, he may not talk about Nicca Dukkha Anatta. He just talk about happy household life, right? So you can also find many different types of happiness taught by the Buddha. So that's why, okay, we have many different things. If we say pessimist, we just think about, right, only suffering, only miserables. We will not talk about the way to overcome it. Right? Almost all the pessimists, they will talk about only miserable, right? So here we also have the way to happiness. We also mentioned the way to happiness. Okay, the main thing is, okay, this many times I have already talked to many people. One thing. Sometimes we have short-time happiness. So if we were to enjoy long-time happiness, we have to give up short-time happiness. We can also say temporary happiness. Right? Not only that, sometimes we have short-time suffering. So if we were to be free from long-time suffering, we have to accept temporary suffering or short-time suffering. Right? So, okay, one more thing here. We have to move another angle. Whenever we talk about Metta, Karuna, Mudita, right? At the time, Don't talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. It's not the way we have to talk about it. Similarly, when we are going to talk about sila, morality, don't talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. When we are going to talk about hiri-udappa, moral shame and moral dread, don't talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. Similarly, when we are going to talk about people's ability, manpower, don't talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. This is the power of human, power of wisdom, power of their efforts, their skill. In this case, don't talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. Okay, so there are many conditions. We should not talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. So there are some people, whenever they say something, they will talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's why people misunderstand about Buddhism. Actually, in Buddhism, there are many things about happiness. You can practically see, right? Sukha and Dhamma. You can check Sukha, Vagga, and Dhammavara. In that chapter, Buddha talk about happiness. Many types of happiness mentioned there. This is, everybody can go and read Dhammavara, right? That's why I just talk about Dhammavara. There are many other factors. Okay, I will pinpoint one sutta. Talk to Buddha delivers the sutta to Ananda Bindika. 4 types of happiness. Ati Sukha. Ati Sukha means when we have many things, this is also called happiness. Vogga Sukha, if we can enjoy our properties, our belongings, this is also called happiness. And then Neya Sukha, debless, if we don't have debt, any debt, this is also called happiness. And Navaja Sukha, blameless happiness. We'll also talk about happiness, right? Okay, we have to go to another angle. When we observe precepts, we have Anavaja Sukha, blameless happiness, right? So we can concentrate well. Viveka Sukha, seclusion happiness. That means the happiness produces by seclusion or solitude, right? Then when we can practice Vipassana, we can take part in fruit knowledge. At the time, because we have liberation, we move this Sukha. Happiness produced by liberation or emancipation. So that means we also talk about many different ways to find happiness. That is why if somebody talk about suffering all the time, we have to consider why is it he's talking. Sometimes to cover their faults, they use Buddha teaching. Sometimes to cover their weakness, they use Buddha teaching, right? So no, we cannot use anicca, dukkha, anatta all the time. There are 8 conditions. We cannot talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. Okay? Then next one.
Question 4. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, in the modern world, many people are living in enjoyment with lots of material wealth. In such case, how do we explain to them about sufferings? They do not see any sufferings, but mainly enjoying many pleasures in their life. Part 2. I explained to my parents not to conduct unwholesome, otherwise they will suffer in their future lives. They replied that in the future they will not remember anything about this life or who they were, so there's no problem. In this case, how can we explain to them about the sufferings? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. Actually, I think we have very popular in this, right? Minimalism. You know? Right? You know minimalism, right? Everybody know minimalism, right? What about the first question? Minimalism. So if we do have peaceful life, sure. We need minimalism. We need to follow that minimalism. So for our enjoyment, okay, let me, for example, okay, I will just give some practical experience in my environment. There are many new generation, you know, they just use the telephone, playing game, they spend their time very long time. Gradually, they have to use spectacle, very spectacle. They cannot see clearly anymore. Their eyesight become very poor. Practically suffering. Okay, so that means some of the enjoyments cannot make our mind mature, or make our spiritual power stronger, or cannot make us mature. So that kind of enjoyment is just called suffering, right? Not that much beneficial. Okay, sometimes although we enjoy something, it will be beneficial. For example, okay, you would like to watch TV, for example. You may watch only for your own business, some like a documentary or some news or something. In this kind of case, it will be beneficial for you, right? So in this kind of case, we have to accept. So for ordinary people, we cannot say, stop enjoying sensual pleasure. We cannot say like that, right? Even, right? Very old people, we cannot say, stop enjoying sensual pleasure. Because they are ordinary people. They want to enjoy. As long as they are doing something beneficial for their life, we have to accept it. Okay? So suffering, okay, sometimes after enjoying suffering, we have to suffer. After enjoying something, we have to suffer a lot. Okay, practically. Myanmar New Year. We have 3 days. Sometimes we also celebrate 5 days, 4 days or 5 days. The last day is not that much serious. Mostly 4 days very serious. Then in the festival, they will splash water, they will sing the song, they will shout, they will dance. At the time they were happy, they are very active. After the festival, they got sore throat. They cannot speak out properly. Also, their body become very exhausted. Right? The weary of body. That means even they cannot open their eyes properly because so tired. Okay, sometimes happiness followed by suffering. We have to avoid that kind of happiness. Sometimes happiness followed by happiness. Okay, we have to do that kind of happiness. It doesn't matter. For example, meditation. In the very beginning, you have to suffer. Suffering, but followed by happiness. We have to enjoy it. We have to accept that kind of suffering, right? So, okay, if we summarize, we have different types of happiness. Happiness followed by suffering. Suffering followed by happiness. Happiness followed by happiness. We can say 3, right? Okay, sometimes suffering followed by suffering. So we have to check what kind of happiness we are enjoying. If we know it, we can change. Okay? What about second one? Actually, don't expect to teach your parents. They will not listen to you. If you wish them to change, there will be somebody influential to them. If somebody influential to them, talk to them, they will accept. Right? So that means if they don't believe their future or anything, you cannot do anything because they are your parents. Even myself, I don't teach my parents. For example, when they come to Paudoya, I'm not their meditation teacher. I say, how over to other teacher? Because they are my parents. They will not listen to me. I'm their son. Although I grow older and older, in their eyes, I'm a kid. Right? Similarly, although you grow older, you may be big lady or big man, but in your parents' eyes, you are kids. You cannot teach them, right? So if you were to teach them, fine, somebody influence that to them. It will be better, right? Okay. Another one.
Question 5. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐴𝐷, if a person die in grief, lamentation, pain, distress, or despair, where is the most possible realm he will be reborn to? Part 2. Will the intensity of this mind affect the level of sufferings he has to encounter in his future destination? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So, Mostly it can be possibility to be reborn in the hell, right? For the first one, for the grief, lamentation, pain, distress, right? Especially like a dosa, dosa minds. So sometimes they may worry about their children, that kind of case, they can be born in the beta realms as a ghost, right? Because they have attachment to their family. This also can be, okay. I cannot say exactly. What about the second question? The intensity of these minds affects the level of suffering he has to encounter in the future destination. Okay, here in this case, I should elaborate a little bit more about the power of karma, right? Okay. Actually, we have already talked about it in the 5 precepts. For example, we have kilesa, mahanda. When we do something bad, right? We may have very strong defilements. The stronger our defilement, the stronger the karmic force in the future. Another one is it yoga mahanta. The yoga means efforts. We may use our body power or mind power. Very strong energy or mental energy. For example, to kill an elephant, we have to prepare everything in detail, right? So that means we have to use our mind power to kill. We have to use our body power to shoot with a gun, for example. We have to train. It depends on the power of our body energy and mental energy. It will be strong. The last one is Vatu Mahanda. Okay, in this case, for example, if we kill our parents, then that means they are valuable, right? That's why we call mighty karma. Similarly, if we kill an arhat, this is also pure person, it becomes mighty karma. So, okay, briefly, if we just kill very valuable persons or valuable living beings, then sure, it will be very strong karma. Okay, here in the case of Vatu Mahanda, we can also think about the treatment of other living beings. For example, when we kill a female deer, for example, right, dog, then his cats will suffer. There are many cats with the dog, right? Then, so in this case, it will be very harmful for small cats. That is why we can say detrimment. So, okay, if we say briefly, it depends on how harmful for the community. It depends on the treatment of community or other living beings or the victim, then it will be very strong karma. So, okay, here I mentioned intensity of those mind, right? Mind. Okay, it depends on what kind of mind we have. Similarly, kusala. If we have very strong kusala mind, we may do very wisely. So it will be very strong effects. Trihituka, all the things come from not associated or not associated, right? So if we have wisdom, we will do everything properly, wisely. It will be very effective for the community. Very useful for the community, very helpful for the community. It will be very strong effects for our future. Okay? Then next one.
Question 6. Dear 𝐸𝐸𝐻, if we have to associate with persons or things that we dislike or be separated from those we love or like, should we try to avoid this situation as much as we can? Or how should we condition our mind to reduce any dukkha that may arise from these situations? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Actually, in the community, we may love somebody, we may hate somebody, right? This is it. We're going to avoid love and hate as long as we have defilements. If we wish to avoid, we must subside our defilements. There are many ways to subside or seduce the defilements, right? If we can seduce defilements, especially like attachment or hatred, then sure, we can overcome this problem. As long as we have lobha and dosa, we can overcome it, right? Then next one. Next one.
Dear Seattle, my name is Seattle. This 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐻 𝐸𝐵𝐢𝐬𝐿𝐻 and 𝐕𝐢𝐬𝐻. How should we handle this and face these situations? According to the Buddha's teaching, we should maintain equanimity. That means just knowing them, maintaining the equanimity and seeing them in equanimous.
Mm-hmm.
In this way, is there any effect?
Mm-hmm. Okay, similar to previous question, right? Okay, so I should give a little bit more information, right? Mostly when I give Tamaso, and especially whenever I talk about particular body parts, I also say to avoid love and hate. For example, if we love somebody, we can ask part by parts, do you love head hair? If you can get head hair, can you be happy? Right? For example, body hair, ask particular body part one by one. Finally, he can recover from love, or he can overcome love. Similarly, when we hate somebody, do you hate head hair? If he has the opportunity to beat head hair, can you feel please? Can you overcome? For example, we can ask part by part, right? Or 32 body parts. This is just example. So I am doing 32 body parts for whether we love or we hate, we can overcome, right? But the main thing is, it depends on our condition also. For example, okay, we have one couple, right? The lady loves her husband too much. Then, okay, meditation teacher taught her, try to see your husband as an Azuba. She don't wish to see. She does not wish to see because he's her beloved husband, right? It's impossible. One day they quarrel. At the time she could see as a dead body. At the time she hate, right? So anyway, we can also say that she's equanimous. Anyway, the main thing is, it depends on our conditions. If we love too much, we're going to see as Azuba. We're going to see as 32 body parts. Similarly, if we hate too much, we cannot talk about Azuba or 32 body parts, right? So it depends on the condition we have. So that means there are many other ways to overcome love and hate, such as if we hate somebody, metta, karuna, mudita. If we love somebody, asubha, 32 body parts, right? We can do many things. So sometimes there are many other solutions also. Okay, the main thing is, we cannot say exactly, right, how to overcome all these things. So it depends on the degree of love and hate also. Okay, so okay, briefly, if we can overcome lobha and then dosa, we can overcome it. Okay, the next one.
Yeah, because the samsara is real dukkha. So he has a lot of, he feels very disgusted about that. He wants to be free from suffering as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But his progress of meditation is very slow. Then as a result, he has a lot of dukkha because cannot get what he wants. And also a lot of 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐻 𝐸𝐵𝐢𝐬𝐵 because he cannot experience the goodness of meditations. He felt that he, as if from one heap of dukkha, go to another heap of dukkha. How to handle this?
Okay. Actually, in this case, if you are in a hurry, you must calm down your mind. Okay. We have many meditators in Paudaya. So they also think that if they try very hard, they can improve faster. In reality, if they try very hard, then they may have more restlessness because they have excessive effort. So first, you must balance your efforts. Neither too strong, nor too weak. Another one is the expectation. You may expect very high quality within a few days, within a few weeks. It's impossible. All the improvement comes from the skill, right? So that means we experience many bad things. Okay, how many times have you learned lesson from bad experiences? Okay, we have another practical experiences here. There are many bhikkhus, they feel stiffness in their heads. They also feel very strong tension around their foreheads and around their heads. They feel tension around their jaw. Finally, they feel tension all over the head. The main problem is they think that if they try very hard, they can improve faster. They put very strong efforts. They control breathing. In the very beginning, it will be fine. They can maintain. But gradually, they feel tension. So they can overcome easily with a long-time habit already. Some of them are not from Paotoya. They just come from other monasteries. When they arrive, they have already suffered from tension. So I have to handle many different problems like this. Okay, the main thing is, if you wish to improve, don't be in a hurry. Right? We have one proverb: Rome wasn't built in one day. You have to do normally. Calm down your mind, try to be natural efforts, natural breathing. It will be easier and easier to improve. Otherwise, although you spend very long time, no more improvements. Just restlessness and worry, right? Now the expectation and worry, not more than that. Okay, so feel free. Whenever you encounter difficulty, don't be lazy to restart as a new meditator. To be a beginner. Okay, next one. Next one. Okay.
Dear Seattle, the 5 hindrances, the 5 nivarana, 7 bojjhanga,
Okay.
suitable for which type of persons to practice and how to practice?
What about the 7 hindrances, right? 5 hindrances, for example, right? We can find 5 hindrances in Mahasatthana Sutta. Actually, these are for akusala, right? So that means we can discern akusala. When we understand akusala, we can do 5 hindrances or sanghayatana or anything. So to understand the akusala clearly, this is for akusala practice, the akusala mental process. But what about bojjhanga? It depends on our conditions. For example, sometimes our mind is not very active. We are lazy, right? Then our meditation is very, very dry. We are boring. At the time, we can use the first group. Viriya Sambojjhanga, Piti Sambojjhanga, also Dhammavicaya Sambojjhanga, right? Sure. Viriya Sambojjhanga, Dhammavicaya Sambojjhanga, and Piti Sambojjhanga, 3 Sambojjhanga. So sometimes we are too active. It also can cause the problem. That's why when our eyes are too active, then it can cause restlessness. Then we can also try to practice another one. Passaddhi Sambojjhanga, Samadhi Sambojjhanga, Upekkhha Sambojjhanga, right? But it depends on the condition where we change our system. Okay? The next one.
Seattle, we have only about 4 minutes left, and I think there are a few more questions.
Okay.
Would Seattle like to continue?
Okay, we're going to use it, doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Vanami said, this question related to the Vinaya. So Vanami said, so if the bhikkhu who was spending vasa in the monastery, so he allowed to leave the monastery not more than 7 days. So if have some reason, he want to go out of the monastery within 7 days, coming back. So he need to adhitana that he coming back within 7 days inside the monastery, or he can go out of the monastery and he adhitana.
Okay. So before leaving monastery, he must determine I will come back within 7 days, right? So after determination, then he can leave. After leaving, don't enter into the monastery anymore. In any case, don't enter, right? Within 1 day, you cannot determine 2 times. So if you enter, the previous ones are already canceled. So you have to wait 1 more day. The next day you can determine. I will come back within 7 days, you can leave, right? So, okay, briefly, according to your questions, we must determine inside the monastery, not outside the monastery, okay? Next one.
Dear 𝐸𝐻𝑚, my name is 𝐸𝐻𝑚, 𝐕𝐲𝐬𝐬𝐚. For those who follow the Uposatha Sila, this type of lay person, if they are sick, need to have some supplement, or their digestive system have some problem, need to take some food to adjust his digestive system. So can he temporarily relinquish the Vikala Bhojana Sila and only observe the 7 Sila of the Uposatha Sila?
Okay, so in this case, that means we cannot say relinquish, right? That means the breaking precepts. Okay, one more thing. For your information, in Thailand, when they take precept, they say "wisdom." They add this kind of Pali, you know, wisdom. That means separately. So at the time when you break one precept, break only one of them. 7 of them will remain. Okay. Anyway, this is breaking precepts. So we can also say allowable, but that means you, as you say, the 7 of precepts remain. 1 of precepts already broken, right? So as you undertake a precepts in the morning, then you cannot keep it in the evening, so you break, right? So this is called not qualifying sila. Actually, in the very beginning of sila, we talk about akanda, achita, akamasa, asabalan. We have this kind of statements, right? So in your case, among the 7, you just break in the middle. That's why this is also called not qualifying sila. Okay. The next one. Oh, many.
What I may say though. So in the Sabasava Sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya, so the Buddha say there are 7 ways of overcoming defilement. So defilement, giving up by seeing, defilement, giving up by restraint, defilement, giving up by using, defilement, giving up by enduring, defilement, giving up by avoiding, defilement, giving up by dispelling, and the defilement, giving up by developing. So can Sayadaw explain further, because I couldn't understand it well. So can Sayadaw explain?
It was very wide. Okay, now today we don't have time, right? It will be very wide. Actually, if you read the Sutta thoroughly, you can also understand, right? For example, by restraints, that means you have to cut your sense, for example, you mentioned, right? I think if you read the Sutta thoroughly, you can understand, right? There are 7 ways, right, to overcome asava. Okay, it will be too long, right? Okay. The next one.
Dear 𝐸𝐻𝑚, please 𝐸𝐻𝑚 advise, is it true the Buddha was also an anarchist? What's mean? How to understand it? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It says an anarchist is a person who believes that government and laws are not necessary.
We cannot say like that, right? Okay. Actually, we also have to follow the rule and regulation of the country. Actually, when you go and read Vinaya, you can find. It depends on the law of the country we have to follow, right? So we cannot say like an anarchist, right?
His mind always oppressed by domanassa. The mind cannot be happy. How to overcome this type of dukkha?
Okay, so in this case, I don't know what kind of object you are taking every day, right? So sometimes when you have a lot of negative thoughts, or you just talk about undesirable things, or you just recall bad memories, right? Then it will be the problem. So that means when you just recall good things you have done in the past, or you just recall that somebody has done good to you, it will be better. You may have more positive thinking, right? More positive thoughts. It will be easier for you to overcome it. The main thing is you must be able to rejoice your past and other people's, right? It will be easier. Okay. Next one.
Dear Seado, because of relationship, we have to suffer a lot. How to maintain a good relationship? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay. So, okay, it depends on what kind of relationship. For example, for a couple, right? Wife and husband. So in Anguttara Nikaya, we can find one suttas about couples. They mention satta. If satta is very different, right? The level of satta is very different. Then although they live together, then they cannot feel happy, right? Similarly, sila, morality. If morality is quite different from one another, then sure they cannot live peacefully. Another is jaga, charity or sharing. So that means if they are sharing, actually they have to share each other, right? That means if their sharing is not equal, then also not that much happy. Another one is that we can also like a panya or sutta. Anyway, we can like wisdom, right? Knowledge. Quite far, then they cannot live peacefully. So if the couple have all these four equally, or I mean not quite far from each other, then they can live peacefully. This is about good relationship, right? But not only that, we also can talk about like a, four sublime items, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. So sometimes we need metta, sometimes we need karuna, sometimes we need mudita, sometimes we need upekkha, equanimities. We must wisely use all these four in the community. Then it will be happy life. It will be peaceful life. Right? Okay, now next one.
Dear Seado, what is the name of the sutta that Seado just mentioned? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, let me check. I have to go and see my notes. So I cannot find. Okay, later. I will find, right? Okay. Idawata ja amehi sambadam punya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe satta numodandu sabba sambati siriya idhamme nyatinam hotu sukhita hondu nyatayo idhamme nyatinam hotu Sukhita hondu nyatayo idhamme nyatinam hotu Sukhita hondu nyatayo idhamme punyam asawekaya waham hotu idhamme punyam nibbanasa pacayo hotu mama punya bhagam sabbasadanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.